Hello guys, Synapsis returning here. Before starting the warning, spoiler ahead. Today, in 1989 I will call an American legacy 2010 named Trone Legacy. Kevin Flynn, CEO of a technology company called Income, tells her child, Sam, the story of his adventures in the grid. The greatest virtual reality were disc fights in spectacular sand cycles, which ran on bands of lights and many miraculous things. There is. From Kevin next to Trone and CLU, it seems to be a program in his own picture of Kevin. That could think that Sam strives to learn more about the story of his father. But it is said that next time I'm waiting. As Kevin will work before he goes, he invites his son to go to the arcade tomorrow and throw a coin. Suddenly, the scene cuts a gathering of events and messages that inform about the disappearance of Kevin, which causes the chaos of the company. The news also has an income company that approached the top of the technology industry, while Kevin takes care of the CEO, has also found that Sam's mother died in 1985 due to a car accident, which comes from Sam. As an orphan, one of Kevin's Alan Bradley's friends from Kevin is not missing, and instead of his dream to discover something magical, Sam jumps in 2010, which is now becoming the main shareholder of Comms. According to his parents, disappearance in the Encom Tower and attempts to steal the latest operating system of OS 12, but to see the company's security guard. On the other hand, Richard Mackey Electricity. The company means that OS 12, which has been sold so far, will now be a paid software, since it is confirmed that it is one of the safest software in the world, and there is no reason to sell it for free. Sam, it for sale. The income system is for sale and publishes OS 12 in public at its release date as part of its annual practice. The company that Michael is angry after Sam was furious from the Wonder Guard after Michael was angry. Sam reveals as the largest shareholder of Encoma and then tries to liberate himself with his parachute from the tower while trying to go to her case-cum motorcycle. It is arrested by the police for the entrance, but finally it was launched a few hours later. Sam returns to his apartment, where he faces all those who tell him about a lateral signal he received from his father's office in the arcade, which he separated from him for 20 years. Everything also shares a story about Kevin, who, 2 days before disappearing, and affirmed that he had understood it. He broke the code about quantum. Alan Teleportation also adds that Kevin had not left this invention, he does not stay anymore. Her only son Sam does not. This story. He says Kevin is already dead and no longer cares about him. Before Alan disappears, hands on the key from arcade to Sam and say that it must be the one who goes there and discovered. What happens later at night? Sam decides to visit to the arcade, and manages to find a hidden door behind the Trone arcade machine, which leads it to a secret workshop, under the reach of nature, the forest through the computer of his father, a scanned laser by accident, passive in the digital world called Trone City. The confused chain that is outside the arcade buildings, in which he realizes that everything has changed. The city has become a very modern digitalization, the city called Grid. He then recognizes for a recognition and is assigned by the program to participate in the games. All others are corrected. Sam is it is removed from a room in which it is equipped with armor and an identity window, which registers everything his owner makes or learns. Then it is delivered to the sand of the discourse, where he has to fight. Several programs should be the last man who can win the game. After several impressive fighting, you have to face a program called Rinsler. The only program used in a definitive fight with identity sheets. Rinsler seems to be a much stronger and experienced fighter. That Sam is experienced by the program. When Rinsler begins the last blow of him, he gives Sam's blood and recognizes him suddenly as a user. The head of Grinch, who has observed all the struggle of insignificant commands, the fighter to take Samson is the Sam first to meet, which first believes that he talks to his father. Before it is CLU. When he said at the top of the movie, it had an image that looked like his father. After meeting Sam, I was sent to the next game. It was a light circulation net to reluctant elite women. He is responsible for the challenge team that his followers installed by CLU and future motorcycles. This battle has been members of both parties and CL Salmon. You have the last survivor falling from the bicycle CLU behind it. Fortunately, mysterious woman comes with a future car and she. Please save not to die by CL. You were outside her arena, she introduced her in her net. Finally, they came to a safe house outside of his grid that Sam finally waits for a long time his father. And they are looking for dinner. Kevin explains his son, who is working to use on and Clus to create a net for a perfect system. However, a new type of program appears in the grid. They are relatives, algorithms, and I are considered a miracle of Kevin. And his story feels Kevin right from the top of the movie before losing. They show creative ability to change bloods of people and humans. Cabinet Trone and Kevin remove all licenses and control the system, and deleted all licenses to fight the warrior. Since then, the tree does not look back. While running away while Kevin escaped, he returned to the grid when the portal returned to the real world and disappeared him for a long time. He added that the port can open only outside the grid. Sam went back home with my father and returned home. Please reject Kevin for 8 hours. This is planning to reduce the mesh and try to get his desk, Kevin's identity. Disks that contain many valuable information can be dangerous to real world when CL is CL. Sam discovered that the page signal Alan received from the front was sent by Kevin. But Seal, you are very optimistic. If you can create a free portal without a father, Ian Allen can stop the CLU. The exterior thought that Gora wanted to help choose a map. Zeus, who can help Sin in his father's desire, bringing the life cycle of adults and return to the next night. Kevin discovered his son. Finally. When he arrived, the decision to escape his son, was giving up the fountain, using the CL to use the CL to use the CL, which is Kevin safe, clue the house and army soon travel safe house, but no one I did not find it. Kevin disappeared. Sam is a clubhouse called Line Club named Zeus. That side. Earn Caster and Caster. He took him to individual rooms. Later, he suddenly appeared in the cold weather of the army that suddenly betrayed the Sam suddenly, and Cora and Kevin have occurred to support Sam. Unfortunately, the core cancer had to be destroyed in the fight and escape to the club to the trio. One of the Black Protection staff will try to steal. This is to get it in the garden. This is the Hand of 2CL Identification Edition. I think you can build both threats. But then, betrayed CL exploded the entire club killed Zeus and Gem in that process. Sam Kevin discussed the next action of the next process, and finally decided to bring the sun's light to the gate when he repaired. Colossal Arms. Kevin is the last part of cooperation. I will wait for an important system in their way. Restart Salmon, Kevin Baugh. Restarting the great collaboration and everyone attacking each other will be saved by the way I'm talking about it. She also had a desire to know that the real world could suddenly saw. Solar Crew. Corruption gave it to a large carrier with a sealed seal to form their military. When you try to find a court, it is decided to sacrifice yourself to distract the enemy. And he explains to Season bring CLU when it causes a battle when fighting with Kevin. Rigdaler. He actually checks to see who has been replaced by Clue, speaking to his army of replacement programs. About his grand plan for real-world domination, after protecting Kevin's ID disk. Now that he can bring his aircraft carrier in the army, infiltrate the real world, while Kevin is trying to find a plane to escape, Sam decides to go to CL using the command ship to rescue Cora, get the identification disk back. He manages to get the disk back when Rinsler unexpectedly arrives on the ship with Cora. Both paid off with Cora's health. He regained his memories as Tron and abandoned, the chase leaving Clue chasing them alone. Suddenly they wash up. Their shift turns back on purposeful collision. His jet uses CL and free fall clue. Manages to steal. Spare Riddlers. Jedin continues the chase towards the group, dropping the Rinsler into the sea, while the trio flew to the portal. Kevin asks Cores to exchange their ID discs upon arrival at the portal. They are weighed by CL. Friends Kevin and Seal started their conversation when Seal said he was simply going in the direction programmed into him. He insisted it was Kevin who betrayed their promise to create a perfect world together. Kevin accepts the fact that at some point he was wrong and apologizes for putting Clue on such an impossible mission. Clue suddenly attacks the toilet. Sam tries to react but instead being thrown on the other side of the bridge. The bridge towards the portal began to break. Sam and Coral, while cluttering, goes to Kevin's record but is shocked to learn that he has been tricked into frustration by the Schwarz table. And several Clue jump to reach the Sam and Cora, but it was too late for them to enter the gate. Kevin then reintegrates with the CLU, making them explode and destroy the whole world up to the real world. Clone Sam. He grills from Kevin's old servers on a small chip he wears around his neck. Alan, to the video game after getting another page where Sam says he will take the lead and calm down and choose Alan as president. He also added that Alan was right when the fundamental things emerged in the real world in a surprising way and that Sam made a decision. I had to take her to see the sunrise for the first time. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel. Thanks for watching.